Hello and welcome to this second lecture video that covers some of the other functions that are useful for cleaning data. And so in this one I'm going to go through and talk about trim, value, clean, substitute, fixed, and I'll also come over here and I'll talk about if error, is functions, if lookup, although we've covered if and lookup in some other earlier classes, so I probably won't spend a whole lot of time on those. Same with the is functions because we've talked about those. The if error is a little bit newer. If I come over here, the other one that we'll talk about, and the other ones that we'll talk about in this lecture video include search, find, replace, and concatenate. Okay, so let's come back up here to this first slide, and again this is posted up on your Canvas learning system. So if we look over here, we get trim, value, clean, substitute, and fixed. And so these are again some additional functions that can be useful for helping you to scrub data. And like I've talked about before, scrubbing data is very important. So trim, lots of times when you download data from another system, it's going to come with leading spaces or trailing spaces. So trim is a really useful function because it removes those spaces before and after the text in the cell. Convert will change the text that occurs in a recognizable format into a numerical value. Clean removes some non-printable characters, and again this is important because sometimes when you download data from another website or from another system, it will include non-printable characters such as line breaks and then other characters that could be added to the data after it's been imported. And so you want to remove those just because it will make it easier to work with that data. The Excel substitute function replaces text in a given string by matching. Okay, it is case sensitive and does not support wildcards. And finally, this last one that's on this slide is called fixed. Converts a number to text with the specified number of decimals. So if I look over here at my Excel file that's posted, you can see here some of those ones that we have. And let me go back and look at additional functions 1. This is where it is. So you can see, look, it has some spaces before the text, and so that could make it difficult to work with and plus it just looks weird. So what we want to do, our desired result, is remove those leading spaces. So how do I do that? I come over here and I just say equals trim 5. So I'll do the demonstration. I can go trim just like this and then click on the cell C5, hit the enter key, and there we go. Alright. The next one that we have is we have this 1250, and you can see if I came over here and I went like this, it's formatted with the accounting. It's got 2 decimal places, and so I'm going to demonstrate the value function, and here's what I want it to show. Just 1250 without the formatting, okay, and also without the decimals. So this is what we want it to look like. This is the function, so I just come over here and I just say value, C6, click on it. In parentheses, hit the enter key, and there we go. The clean function, as I was saying before, I think could be especially useful because it will, lots of times when you download data from another system, it will include some non-printable characters. And so if we look at this data that we have right over here with our input, see how I have Dave, and then what I have is Henderson, that's on the next line right over here. And you can see I put a note there in your Excel file. It says I inserted a line break here using Alt-Enter. So what I did is I typed in Dave, and then I hit the Alt key and then the Enter key at the same time, and then I typed in Henderson. What that did is it put in a line break, and you can go ahead and give that a try to see if you can't replicate what I did. You just type in the text, hit Alt-Enter at the same time, the Alt key and then the Enter key at the same time, and then type in your next text and it puts it on a separate line. So I want to use the clean function to get rid of that because here's the way I want it to look. So here's my function. So I just go equal clean 7. Like this. C7. There we go. The other one that I have is substitute. So you can see what I have right over here is I have Henderson, Dave. And I'm going to use the substitute function, and here's what I want it to show is Henderson Dave. It doesn't have the comma. So what I want to do is I want to use the substitute function to substitute a space instead of the comma. So we look over here at our function. It says substitute, and then I'll say C8. This is where I want to do the substitution. And what I want to do You see, this is the old text, and see there's the comma, and then this is the new text. Now, in some other lecture videos, I think I've talked about this, where car 32, that is the ASCII equivalent of the space key. So what you could do here is you could just come over here and just do, quotes and then empty space, and it should work. But I think using the car function is much better. All right. So I would encourage you to kind of look at the car function. So if I come over here, you can just use the car function, and you can say car 32, and then what's in here is there's an empty space. Okay. So that's what that's returning to you. So I can just go car 32. So I'll just come over and I'll go substitute. Here's what I want to substitute, right? And I want to find the comma, and I want to substitute. It's going to look for the comma, and it's going to change the comma into my space. And so that's the other thing, is that what I also did here is I used the function within a function. Remember, you can do that. So I've got the outer function substitute, then I've got the inner function car 32, and there we go. All right. So fixed, what that does is we come over here, and we can see we have our 1250 fix, and if I right click over here and I go to format cells, you can see it's formatted as accounting. I'm going to use the fix function, and here's my desired result. Okay, now you can see it's a slightly different desired result right over here, and that's because when I put in my desired result, what I can do is go like that. Now, putting this little apostrophe right there makes it text. Okay, makes it text. And so that's how I can make it go 1, 251, and then you can see it's left align. That's what I'm saying right over here at that note. It's left align, indicating that it's text, not a number. So I can come over here and I can use my fixed function, and I'll go fixed, and then it says here's the number, and then the number of decimals. I just want it to be 0, so it's going to round up. Okay, there we go. 1251, and then you can see it does turn it into text. All right. I can look over here. Let's look at the next slide where I have some more additional functions right over here. We can get into, so we come back and look at this. So we do have if error is functions, and then the if function, and then the VLOOKUP. These have been covered, like I was saying, in earlier classes, and so you should know about these by now. Let's take a look at the if function. So if I come over here and I go if, I'll just show it to you right over here. If error, and I can say 10 divided by 0. Now, anything division by 0 is a problem, right? And I can say division by 0. Gives me division by 0. Now, if I come over here and I go 1, it's just going to return the answer. So the way the if error function goes, it says if there is an error in whatever you're trying to do here, do something. Return division by 0, or say this is a problem. But if there's not an error, just do the calculation or show whatever was in the cell. Okay, so that's the way the if error function works. It works similarly to the if function, but it doesn't have a false part. The false part is just the default. Okay, that's the way I think about it. So if we come over here, we can look at some of these functions, and we can look for search. And what search is going to do is going to find what I want to do. If I look over here, I want to find where the capital D is. Okay, now it's going to return. Okay, it's going to find the D. Search is not case sensitive, so that's why it comes over here and it says, it shows you it's in the 4th place. Okay, so we look over here, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4. Lowercase d, that's why this returns 4. Okay, the find, this returns 12. Why does it return 12? Because it's looking for capital D. Find is case sensitive. Search is not case sensitive. So if I do this, I can come over here and I can just go search, and I'll find my capital D, any D, I'm sorry, because it's search, it's not case sensitive. It's within this text, and I'll say start at position 1, There we go. And I can go find, and I'll find my capital D again. Now, it would probably be even better in this function, rather than doing a capital D like this, using a cell reference, which you could do, and I'll demonstrate that here in a second. Within here, I'll go 1. Now, what I was saying is I could come over here, I could go D. So I don't have to go to that. I can just go D, like this. So now what I could do is I'll delete this, and I'll go search, find this. Then I'm going to come up here, just put quotes around this. Go search, and I'll say here, within here, start number 1. There we go. That's a better way to do it. All right. So let's look at this one. Replace D-Hendy. This is another nickname that students have called me. This is the nickname that students called me when I was in England in 2015 on a study abroad. They like to call me D-Hendy. So we'll go with D-Hendy. So what the replace function does, if we take a look at that function, it says replace D7. So we look over here. This is where I want it to replace. So just bring up the old text. Okay. And I'll say start the number, and I'll go through 9. So I'm going to replace Henderson 1 through 9. Now, there's the start number. That's how far I want it to go. How do I know 9? I had to calculate it. I had to count off how long that goes, right? And then I want to replace it with F7. So I'll come over here, replace old text, comma, start at the position 1. I'll go to 9 because I counted how long Henderson was. And then I'll say with my new text, D-Hendy, like that, and there we go. And the other one that I want to talk about over here is the concatenate function, which again is pretty useful for you. So what this does is it concatenates or joins several strings together. So I could come over here. So I've got Dave and I've got Henderson on 2 separate lines. This function could be really useful for you when you're trying to clean data. So what I wanted to do is go Henderson, comma, Dave. Here's my function. Now, if you look over here, what I did is I said D9, right? So that's right over here, Henderson, comma, Dave. So you can see I want to put last name and then a comma and then first name. So I want to say D9, which is right over here, okay, the last name, and then car 44. So if I come over here and I just go car, remember that returns the ASCII equivalent, and see how it shows the comma? Now, what ASCII is it's saying to the computer, I don't understand the word. The computer doesn't know what a comma is. It knows comma as number 44. It doesn't know the space bar. It knows space bar is number 32. So when you're going car 44 like that, you're saying to the computer, hey, put in a comma. And in terms of all the numbers, you can just do Google search for ASCII table. So if I came over here and I went like this, I clicked over here and like this, you can see here's all the ASCII equivalents. Okay, that one's not a very good one. Okay, but you can find all the ASCII equivalents right over here in these tables. And so if you can just kind of just Google search there for ASCII, and that's all I do, honestly. So if I come back over here, let's look at the concatenate function really quickly. Concatenate this, comma, and then what I want to do is go car 44, comma, and then I want to put a space, car 32, comma, and then Dave, like that. There we go. And that's the way we do it. And this function, the concatenate function, can be really useful for you. What you could do is instead of using the concatenate function, you could do the ampersand. So I'll just show this to you really fast. I could go equals Dave, and then I could go like this. Okay. Let me do that again. Anyways, I'm running out of time, but you could use the ampersand.